Greetings and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Kiyonah. Today I would like to talk with you about how we can reclaim our authentic humanity by embracing things like true anarchism and neotribalism, urban tribalism. Many conscious people have a deep unease with modern living, with living in the suburbs, in a nuclear family, with a career path, and where everything seems to be dictated by these cultural norms. You know, everything seems to be described according to these certain paradigms. And I think it's a journey that can take time. It's a transition, but I think we can really liberate ourselves by focusing on discovering our authentic humanity. And according to the sciences, humans used to be very tribal, very community-oriented, even very matriarchal, very spiritually connected to the world, whether you're looking at Celtic pagans or Native Americans or what have you. And we've lost that in the modern world. It seems like everything has no chi, no flavor when you live in the mainstream way. And it can really get depressing, like always living in an area that's cloudy all the time. Where's the funk, you know? Where's the flavor? Where's the jazz, you know? And when you begin to decide that you don't like the mainstream paradigms and the mainstream ways of doing things, you have to formulate for yourself what you do like. And one easy place to start is by studying anarchism, which to me is the concept of self-rule. You rule yourself, you govern yourself, you decide what you do and do not consent to. And that gives you a lot of liberty to pursue your own happiness in your own way, regardless of the approval of others as to whether you conformed or not. And that's a big subject for how you would do that. But basically you make your own decisions. You don't do what other people tell you to do. And you cooperate with the mainstream society because they're at a different level of awareness and they function in a different way. And then once you get a good handle on understanding what anarchism truly is, and you've adopted it as your personal philosophy and life way, then you can start studying people and cultures who actually are anarchistic. In America, I would hold up the Rainbow Family of Living Light as true anarchists from top to bottom. They have a lot of integrity going all the way back to the beginning as true anarchists. But there's many other subcultures and countercultures that also practice anarchism. And when you look to those, you're going to always see tribalism and a sense of community and equal value among the people in the Rainbow Family or in the band or the circus or whatever it is. And you're going to see that this tribalism has a life of its own that exists in perpetuity and just replicates itself naturally, especially as people bring in new people and as they raise their children to also be anarchists. And so I found two good books to read from today, and they're both from the Crime Think Collective. If you've never checked out Crime Think, you really should. This one is called Days of War, Nights of Love. Can I find it on there? Days of War, Nights of Love. And this one is called Expect Resistance. If you go to their website, you can get copies of all their publications. So this one is from Days of War, Nights of Love, from the chapter called Hierarchy and Anarchy. and the story is called Resurrecting Anarchism as a Personal Approach to Life. Stop thinking of anarchism as just another world order, just another social system. From where we all stand in this very dominated, very controlled world, it's impossible to imagine living without any authorities, without any laws or governments. So no wonder anarchism isn't usually taken seriously as a large-scale political or social program. No one can imagine what it would really be like, let alone how to achieve it. Not even the anarchists themselves. Instead, think of anarchism as an individual orientation to yourself and others, as a personal approach to your life. That's not impossible to imagine. Conceived in these terms, what would anarchism be? It would be a decision to think for yourself rather than following blindly. It would be a rejection of hierarchy, a refusal to accept the God-given authority of any nation, law, or other force as being more significant than your own authority over yourself. It would be an instinctive distrust of those who claim to have some sort of rank or status above the others around them, and an unwillingness to claim such status over others for yourself. Most of all, it would be a refusal to place responsibility for yourself into the hands of others. It would be the demand that each of us not only be able to choose our own destiny, but also to do very that. According to this definition, there are a great deal more anarchists than it seems, although most would not refer to themselves as such. For most people, when they think about it, they want to have the right to live their own lives and to think and to act as they see fit. Most people trust themselves to figure out what they should do more than they trust any authority to dictate it to them. Almost everyone is frustrated when they find themselves pushing against faceless, impersonal power. You don't want to be at the mercy of governments, bureaucracies, the police, or other outside forces, do you? Surely you don't let them dictate your entire life. And I just want to say, I don't want that, but I have experienced the power that they have to dictate our lives. And even when one of these outside forces is dictating your life, you still have the power of your own consciousness and how you perceive things. Never surrender your true self. Don't you do what you want to, what you believe in, at least whenever you can get away with it? In our everyday lives, we all are anarchists. Whenever we make decisions for ourselves, whenever we take responsibility for our own actions rather than deferring to some higher power, we are putting anarchism into practice. So, if we are all anarchists by nature, why do we always end up accepting the domination of others and even creating forces to rule over us? Wouldn't you rather figure out how to coexist with your fellow human beings by working it out directly between yourselves? Not being a cop caller, not calling social services, not calling anybody, just talking directly, rather than depending on external sets of rules? The system they accept is the one you must live under. If you want your freedom, you can't afford to not be concerned about whether those around you demand control of their lives or not. We don't need masters to control us. That's not what their function is supposed to be. So this is the other one, Expect Resistance, a field manual. And this chapter is called End Segregation, Reintegrate Our Lives. As you read this, somewhere in the world there is an underground circus or a punk rock band on tour. Unbeknownst to themselves and others, they carry within them the seeds of an ancient social structure. Responsibilities are shared and valued equally within the group, and whenever someone wants a break from something or is curious to learn about something else, they switch roles with another person. No one member's participation is any more or less important than any other's, whatever their individual strengths may be. For the cooperation and contentment of each one is crucial to the functioning of the entire group. Each member's daily activities satisfy their various desires. They feel at home with their friends while they travel through new environments. They make art that simultaneously entertains and educates. They get exercise loading and unloading supplies and equipment. They learn new things repairing their vans and interacting with locals. They have adventures collecting food and other supplies through urban hunting and gathering that does not conflict with their anti-consumerist ethics. Best of all, they no longer have to distinguish between their own needs and those of the people around them, and this eliminates most of the stress of interacting with others. Together, all the participants function as an extended family, to such an extent that over time, they are able to lose some members and gain others without losing their customs or closeness. This spills over into their interactions with those outside their clan. If there are no hierarchies or rigid divisions within a group, there need not be artificial boundaries between that group and others. They can move freely through a variety of social and cultural circles, giving and receiving limited only by their own sociability. Yes, we'd have to downsize and rework our whole civilization to follow the lead this merry little band offers. But for the past few centuries, we've been struggling to deal with the difficulties of not living in such communities, and we haven't had much success. If we're going to struggle anyway, it might as well be towards a utopia in which our lives can encompass everything the cosmos has to offer. And finally, I'd like to share with you some of my notes that I've posted on Facebook over the years. I have a lot of good ones, and if we end up being friends there, you'll be able to read them. So I have a lot of good articles. I can't even choose which one. This one is Keep Your Wild Human Funk Alive. So by embracing true anarchism, self-rule, where you do not consent to be governed by any paradigm not of your choosing, and by either creating or connecting with Neotribalism online or urban tribalism in person, by doing these things, you can keep your authentic humanity alive. And I wrote this article for my project called the Wild Human Initiative on June the 15th of 2011, and I think it's pretty good. This is what I know. This wild human life is alive. No matter what the circumstances, our wild human lives are begging for expression. I know these things while I'm feeling bathed in the light of love and I'm living a well-loved life. My challenge is to connect these illuminated high points, like dots on a map, across the terrains of darkness that I go through, and to be a beacon of light for myself and others while going through that darkness. I think of it like a mental map I can show to someone on the same kind of journey to help them survive and find their way home too. And I can offer a wild human template to show them what is possible. When life is turbulent, how can we reclaim the miracles of our wild human life? Embrace it and celebrate it and empower what we want to amplify and solidify. We take a breath, we step up, we bite into it, and we love it as it is. Sometimes it's sweet in the mouth and sour in the stomach, and sometimes it's sour in the mouth and sweet in the stomach. Sometimes it's hard to take at first and then it blossoms into something meaningful. Sometimes it starts out as something that blossoms in a meaningful way and turns into something sour. Think about all the garbage we have to process in modern life. Physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. We have to process it in all directions, from its creation to its decay and eventual recreation. Maybe it's time for an attitude adjustment or a major overhaul. Reduce, reuse, and recycle in all ways, on all levels. As your old circumstances fade away, make good choices aligned with who you really are. Be good and live good and bring in good. Live wild, eat wild, love wild, think wild, act wild. And when garbage comes in, find a good way to treat it and get it out of your life. Keep the flow flowing. Life has darkness, and so I believe it serves some valuable function for growth and change. We can't get rid of it. It's part of the design and the balance of life itself. But we can handle how we receive it and respond to it. We can eventually master it by degrees anyway, and then integrate that also into the wild human tapestry of our lives. Every day, in every way, everything in the world is simultaneously dying and coming alive, including the old paradigms, like corporate capitalism, institutionalized prisons, public education, treating cancer with chemotherapy, fueling vehicles with petroleum products. These old paradigms are dying and new ones are coming alive. So what do you focus on? I focus on both. Do you see the dying and the coming alive in your home, your clothes, your transportation, your friends and their lives, your thoughts and dreams? The rose is in the garbage and the garbage is in the rose. Interdependent coexistence of light and dark, good and bad, wild and free, tame and imprisoned, beautiful and ugly, happy and unhappy, all of it. So when you reclaim your authentic humanity, you pay attention to what you really think, what you really feel, what you really want. Not what you've been conditioned or programmed to think, feel, act, and want. It's quite amusing and interesting when you aren't too attached. It's quite agonizing and emotional when you are. The spirit world must be extraordinary to have created all of this, to allow it and sustain it to continue, and to love and care about every molecule in creation. How can you as a wild human create an authentic heritage for yourself based on values of celebration and reverence of authentic human life, including and embracing all of it? How do you not cut yourself off from your true soul? How do you not ignore the calling of your soul to follow your bliss? How can we make choices so that we smell, touch, taste, and feel what is wild, good, and true, even while system busting and subverting the dominant paradigms? Or even while dealing with unevolved people with no appreciation of wild humanness? Well, I say reverence, like poetry in motion as wild human life, the essence of a wild human life, hitchhiker poetry, outlaw poetry, down in the blues poetry, wild humans uniting in the woods poetry. The poetry is life itself, sometimes written down, sometimes sung, sometimes acted out, in reverence. Spiral slacker, gutter punk, neotribalistic, green anarchistic, hip-hop, spoken word, insane, Buddhist, peaceful Native American, seasoned elder, fearless youngster, poetic reverence. Embracing all of it, including the pain and the scars. Those details of the poetry give the wild human story of your life authentic character and depth. Even the shame and the dying and the apparent failures and shortcomings, all of it is heroic. All of it makes me cry and shout with joy at the same time. My soul has 1,000 tattoos about the adventures I've experienced so far, and my mind is covered with the graffiti that tells the stories. Wild human authenticity is big enough to fit around both the beauty and the hell of this world, and it's small enough to fit in your pocket. By carrying this authentic resonance with you, this authentic resonance of wild human reverence with you, you can stay awake, aware, creative in how you relate with what shapes your world. When I'm upset, I go hide in the treetops, remember who I am and what my authentic life is about, and I embrace it, and I come back down when I feel better. I don't let them change me and say, oh well, I guess I can't be a wild human. I can't be different. I can't have dreads. I can't drive a Volkswagen van. I can't do this, that, and the other, How you do anything is how you do everything. When you do get overwhelmed, angry, apathetic, lost in the insanity, Who and what helps you to relight your authentic human fire? How do you increase your capacity to self-ignite and electrify yourself to life again? Sometimes you may feel like you're crossing the swamp of never-ending sadness, and if you give in to it, it will suck you down and under. Only then will the enemies have won. So on you go, streaming tears and thunderstruck with grief. Eventually you come up the bank and into the forest, and life is okay again. Living an authentic human life is totally different than living a tame, domesticated, mediocre, generic, average, mainstream life. It's passionate, it's moody, it's intense, it's messy. Sometimes it's a train wreck, you know. One secret is to keep your wild human spirit in motion. It's good to go on sabbatical and go on retreat for a while, but eventually you need to be in motion again. Your spirit needs to have actions that are relevant, meaningful, and significant, however small. Like the graffiti that says, "This is vandalism for its own sake." This is authentic human life for its own sake, and no other. Just for the sake of being alive and authentic. Wake up, rise up, and live. Face your challenges and your opportunities by rooting down deep into your authentic humanity. If you don't have it, then strive to find it or create it. It will soothe you with its power in your darkest times, and it will help you to exude your truth. Carry it down into all your taproots and out into your branches and leaves and your seeds and your fruit. A tree is known by its fruit, which is what you produce in the world, what the world sees coming from you. Send your roots deep into the earth and reach your branches up into the sky and make your wild human fruit juicy and soulful.